A new countering kleptocracy cell within the National Crime Agency will target sanctions evasion and corrupt Russian assets hidden in the United Kingdom. And will work with other countries to ensure that there is nowhere else for Russian dirty money to hide. Now, throughout my time in government, I have seen the saddest plight faced by many people around the world, displaced by conflict and the horrors of war. They include Syrian refugees in Jordan and Lebanon, Yemeni and Iraqi refugees across Europe, and people we have welcomed to the United Kingdom, including families from Afghanistan. The UN estimates that 3 million refugees have been forced to flee the conflict in Ukraine. Most of them naturally want to stay as close to their homes as possible, in safe countries near Ukraine. And that is why we are doing everything to help the refugees in neighbouring countries, as I saw in Poland. The Polish government requested concrete and practical help rather than interference, and that is exactly what we are giving. And we are working with the Ukrainian community in the United Kingdom so that they can make contact with their loved ones, so that we can help safely bring them to the United Kingdom. But in the meantime, we will do everything to welcome Ukrainians here. It is not just a moral imperative. There is an enormous enthusiasm throughout our great country for extending a hand of hospitality and friendship. Britain is a country that always does right by those in need. We have a long, proud history of offering sanctuary. And that is why I launched the Ukrainian Family Scheme for Ukrainians with family ties to British nationals and people settled here in the UK. I'd already announced the extension of leave for Ukrainian nationals already here before Putin's invasion. And now those joining us through the Family Scheme will be granted the right to stay in the UK for 3 years, during which time they can work and they have access to public services. We want them to thrive here, just like the people we have welcomed from Syria, Hong Kong and Afghanistan. And in order to ensure that they do, we will make sure they have every means to do so. And it's not just Ukrainians with pre-existing links to the UK who are welcome. Those with no family ties can come here through our Homes for Ukraine scheme. Individuals, charities, community groups and businesses in the UK can apply to sponsor Ukrainians and bring them here safely. But above all, it is the generosity of the British people that is at the core of our country's response to this crisis. And we've seen hundreds of thousands of people offer up rooms in their homes, funding appeals which have soared. And behind every figure lies the story of a person or a family who can look forward to a better future because of the generosity of the British people, and we celebrate that. Yeah, yeah. But friends, it will not have escaped your notice that our opponents claim we do not care about the needy and the vulnerable. It is the opposite of the truth. Since 2015, we have resettled almost 25,000 men, women and children seeking refuge from cruel circumstances across the world, more than any European country. As Home Secretary, I have given support to British national overseas status holders and their family members threatened by draconian security laws in Hong Kong, creating a pathway to citizenship for over 5 million people, with already 97,000 visas having been granted. And last summer, we led the largest evacuation since Dunkirk in Afghanistan. Under Conservative leadership, the United Kingdom has and will always provide sanctuary when the lights are being switched off on people's liberties. This government has focused on a post-Brexit immigration system that is open to the world and is fair, where we welcome the best and the brightest through a points-based system, the brilliant, dedicated doctors and nurses now able to come and use our fast-track visas to work in the NHS, and the brightest and the best scientists and academics who now benefit from the global talent route straight to the UK. This is our new plan for immigration in practice. Cracking down on the people smugglers means that we will have the capacity to help those genuinely fleeing fear of their lives. Safe and legal routes, like the ones for Ukrainians displaced by Putin's war, are preferable to the dangerous journeys across the channel organised by criminal gangs. And we have added measures to the National Anti-Borders Bill, introducing new visa penalty provisions for countries that pose a risk to international peace and our security. Accommodation and other resources are not unlimited. We will be less able to help those in most need if we do not control our borders. And all states have a responsibility to have planned and controlled migration and asylum. And to sustain them, that system, all of it, it has to be a fair one. And this government promised to regain sovereignty, and we have made immigration and asylum policy a priority. Which is why what is happening in the Channel with small boats is unsafe, unfair, and unacceptable. The cause of this relentless flow of migrants landing on our shores are the vile people smugglers, characterised by ruthlessness and greed. Now, I know you feel angry and frustrated about this. I do too. This is not a challenge unique to the UK, but now we have left the EU, global Britain has a responsibility to act and address the problems that for too long have been neglected. So you rightly ask, what am I doing to change things? At the heart of our new plan for immigration is a simple principle: fairness. Access to the UK's asylum system should be based on need and not on the ability to pay people smugglers. If you enter the UK illegally via a safe country in which you could have claimed asylum, you are not seeking refuge from imminent peril, but you are picking the UK as a preferred destination. The present maximum sentence for people smugglers is 15 years. We are changing that through our bill to make it life. The use of hotels. The use of hotels to accommodate arrivals will end, and we will bring forward plans to expand the government's asylum estate to accommodate and process asylum seekers, including for return to a safe country. For the first time, whether you enter the UK legally or illegally will impact on how your asylum claim progresses and on your status in the UK if your claim is successful. We will also introduce robust approaches to age assessments against adults claiming to be children. And it's through these and many other measures, my friend, in the Nationality and Borders Bill, which will return to Parliament next Tuesday, that we will bring lasting changes to this broken system, which is currently the right thing to do, because what we must do is be fair to those who need our support and firm on those who abuse our laws. The Home Secretary's primary responsibility is the security of our nation. Now, some of you may have heard or noticed the calls for me to suspend national security processes on people have grown louder in recent weeks. But there are very good reasons as to why Ukrainian refugees must come here safely and legally. I've been asked, why couldn't we suspend security checks on people escaping Putin's war? Times of conflict, my friends, emphasise our need to remain watchful. Now, I know from the briefings I receive from the intelligence and security services that instability around the world brings with it greater threats. I sign daily warrants from our security and intelligence agencies relating to extreme danger this country faces from all kinds of terrorism, serious organised crime, and state threats. Only 4 years ago, the Russian military intelligence services used a chemical weapon on British soil. It happened in Salisbury, a beautiful city whose inhabitants would have felt completely safe. Dawn Sturgis could never have imagined that she would lose her life to Novichok. The truth is that a very small number of people can wreak utter havoc. And Russia has a history of covert, hostile activity. And I'm afraid it is naive and misguided to think that only men can be covert operatives, or that refugee flows would not be subject to some form of exploitation. There are those who would come to our country, to this country, who would mean us harm and who plot to strike at our very way of life. The processes that we have put in place closely follow the advice of our intelligence and security services. They mean we can help Ukrainians in need without making our country less safe. State threats and terrorism take many forms. They also thrive on indifference and on appeasement. And now we are seeing them supplemented by new types of targeted biological, chemical, cyber warfare, ransomware, and online threats. Our duty is to safeguard our country's interests, and we will never take our eye off the ball when it comes to the safety and security of our country. Rightly, our focus is on the current crisis in Ukraine. However, at home, we continue to deliver on the people's priorities, for which many of you, my friends, campaigned so hard on in 2019. The safety and security of our communities and citizens is paramount. Crime has unspeakable consequences on those whose lives are scarred by appalling acts of crime, abuse, and violence. Our approach to crime will always be based upon seeking justice for victims, but also ensuring that perpetrators are subject to the full force of the law. Since we met in Manchester, we have continued to back our police with funding, resources, and importantly, the laws they need to keep our country safe. Through our Beating Crime plan, we are well over halfway our target of recruiting 20,000 police officers. We are pursuing the appalling scourge of drugs, and our actions on targeting county lines and the drug gangs are working as law enforcement go after the kingpins behind the deadly supply lines. To cut crime, we must cut down on drug use, which is why we have expanded support for drug testing on arrest. Illegal drugs are responsible for murders, serious violence, and neighbourhood crimes. And we will continue to reform police accountability, performance and transparency to ensure that their focus is that of the British people, which is to prevent and to cut crime. And our approach, my friends, is working. Our approach is that of cutting crimes, including theft, burglary and knife crime, all of which are down. I will continue to be relentless in the pursuit of criminals to ensure that everyone, every community can be safe and that our streets and neighbourhood are free of crime. Friends, I began my remarks by sharing with you what I saw 2 weeks ago in Poland. What I saw there, through the acts of kindness and care, were the very universal values which we as Conservatives hold dear to our hearts. The preciousness of freedom, safety and security, which unite and bring us together. We value the enormous benefits of living in a free and safe society, and we must always be resolute in our determination to safeguard them. What is happening in Ukraine is the saddest reminder of the depths to which humanity can sink to strike out those values. Our duty is to safeguard our country's interests and to be reliable and supportive to our friends who share our values. It is right that we do everything that we can to help Ukraine in this hour of need. And my friends, it's not just for their peace, freedom and security, but for the very values and the freedoms we all cherish and live our lives by. Thank you. Thanks very much.